Welcome back to Morning Cup of Brand Spark, the mirror conversations. Today's guest is someone who's quite literally rewrote her entire life on stage, under lights, and in front of a crowd. Merit Kahn is the playwright, producer, and performer behind Optimistic Personality Disorder, a hilarious, heart-hitting one-woman show about life's messiest plot twists. She's a keynote speaker, an emotional intelligence expert, and a woman who took her entire 50-year story, broke it apart, and then rewrote it through the lens of comedy. Her mirror moments arrived in several different acts. This is a conversation about rewriting your past, reclaiming your narrative, and laughing your way into a future that actually fits you. So let's get started.
In the mirror light I see what's true. The spark in me, the spark in you. One cup, one truth, one little fire. Morning voices climbing higher. So grab your cup, let's spark it up.
Merit, thank you so much for joining me today on Morning Cup of Brand Spark.
Well, I am happy to be here.
Welcome. Before we dive in on all of the deep stuff, your one-woman show's tagline is, if a TED Talk and a tequila shot had a baby, it would be this show. I love it.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
It's very accurate.
And since I always ask everyone, what's in your cup this morning or today? And don't tell me it's tequila yet.
It's not. I'm a coffee girl, so it's coffee.
And where are you joining from?
I'm in Denver, Colorado.
And if you could describe your week in one word so far, how has your week been?
My week. Oh
Yeah.
my. I would say momentum week. I am building the tour of my one-woman show for 2026, and so I've just mapped out where I want to be for first quarter, and ChatGPT and I made a nice spreadsheet
Are you
of
homies?
Yeah, oh yeah, just trying to find all the right theaters and who are the right contact people, and now I'm just begging theaters to call me back. It's like, "Hey, I would like to rent your place. I would like to give you business." Now I'm understanding why people in the theater world are always starving because no one calls you back, so I don't understand.
Strange. It's very strange.
Yeah, it is strange.
And before we go into your mirror moment stuff, where's your show? Is it all over the US?
Yes, so I have already performed in New York, Chicago, Denver, Florida, Charlotte, St. Louis, South Dakota, Nebraska, and in first quarter 2026, I am planning Salt Lake City area, Denver, more Denver shows, as well as Southwest Florida and Kentucky.
Ooh, of all
So,
places.
yeah, it's a strange route, but I try to build my calendar around where my boyfriend's going to be teaching stuff so we can travel together.
When are you coming over here to Europe?
Europe's on my radar screen, and yeah, I think I've got a lot of work to do in the U.S. and Canada for 2026, and then 2027 we'll head across the pond.
Awesome. I'll help find you theaters here.
Perfect, you're on.
So let's go to your mirror moments. So if you take me back to 2014,
Mm.
that was your first stand-up workshop or so, right?
Yes, I took a stand-up comedy class because I wanted to learn how to be more deliberately funny to help my keynote speaking business, and it was life-changing. I had no idea. I thought I was just gonna learn how to write a good joke, and what ended up happening was I did my first 7 minutes of original comedy, and I had never been so scared in my life, and I'm on stages all the time in front of thousands of people, but that this was a whole different ballgame, and I just was changed forever. Just the opportunity to hear people laugh at, like, your original content was just life-changing. And I learned how to think like a comedian. I think more than anything, that's really what was the moment.
And that's really different.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my audience and a lot of my colleagues are women speaking on stage. How is that? How does that differ from standing on stage to deliver a comedy?
Well, in my keynote business, you pay for the content. I'm entertaining enough to help you understand and want to stay for the content, but it's the content, right? I speak to sales and leaders, and it's about emotional intelligence and sales strategies, so it's about the content. On a stand-up comedy stage, the goal is you are laughing every 7 to 10 seconds. That is a whole different ballgame, and, yeah, that I think, though, learning to think like a comedian was the best therapy I've ever had, and I didn't know it at the time how badly I would need it, but at that time, my marriage was tanking, and it would be 2 years later when my comedy coach, ironically, was the one who told me my marriage wasn't gonna make it, not my therapist I had been with for 5
Wait,
years.
what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How did that happen?
Well,
Tell me.
because comedy mirrors life, and the brand of comedy that I practice is I write original comedy, like some well-known comedians have made very good careers out of, like, "What's the deal with old people backing out of the driveway?" Like, but my comedy is very personal, so you learn
Yeah.
a lot about me, and I look at the things in my life that frustrated me, and then I look at them through the lens of comedy, and it no longer frustrates me because I have found the funny, and it just shifts your perspective. Once I learned to think like a comedian, just everything in my world changed, and it was because my jokes were getting really mean about my husband at the time, and my comedy coach like, I remember one joke. I wish I could remember what the joke was, I'm sorry, but
You have to
she
dig
said
in
I
somewhere,
know,
somehow, sometime.
she's like, "You're not allowed to do that joke on stage. Like, you've crossed the line, you're gonna make your audience uncomfortable, and that is no longer, like, funny, that is harsh."
Or it's just funny to 5%.
I was like, Alright, well" yeah, and then she told me my marriage wasn't gonna make it, and, 6 months later, I filed for divorce because she was right.
Wow. And then you also chose to bring some of those life stories into your comedy act from that point on, didn't you?
Yes, so my next big moment was, 2019 when so it was my 50th birthday, and I rewrote my life story through the lens of comedy, and it turned into it's a 75-minute one-woman show. It's got heart, it's got life lessons, and you are laughing throughout my entire life story because I learned to laugh through my life story. And like anybody, everybody has ups and downs. If you make it to 50, you have had a roller coaster ride of some sort. And I just think by the time you get to 50, you gotta kinda look at all of it and go, "All right, that was ridiculous."
And we've all had that, right? Like, we've all had these experiences,
Yeah.
and to be able to laugh at yourself or to look at it through that lens, I think there's a really huge power in that.
And what I thought was, an unintended consequence, I mean, I just thought I was writing a comedy show, and I have had more people come up to me after being in a comedy in that show's audience and saying how much it impacts them and how they saw themselves in my story and it gave them some peace around their own story and they are going to start to look at things a little bit differently. And that was happening more than any of the keynotes that I was doing. No disrespect to all the keynote work that I've done. It's all very good, but it was amazing the impact you can have because it wasn't
Mhm.
my intention to impact, it was my intention to entertain.
Yeah.
And through that intention, the purity of that intention, the real life heartfelt moments and lessons really shine through. And now the next iteration of that is I'm actually doing something I call the work show experience. So,
Mhm.
you can be in the audience and be entertained by the show, but before and after that experience, I'm going to pull back the curtain. I'm going to show you exactly how I found the stories in my life, how I did learn to think like a comedian, how I was able to rewrite my stories, not so that you could, perform them on a stage necessarily, but so that it gives you a little bit more freedom to really shift the future because your future is you're creating your future based on the narratives you have of your past experience. So if you can shift that and look at your past experiences with some humor, then it really gives you some new possibilities in your future.
Yeah, you talk about being able to rewrite your past, to rewire your future. Is this what
Exactly.
you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there one particular story in your life that you have completely rewritten yourself?
Oh, yes, I
What
have
is the most important one?
bunches of stories. The most important one, oh my, I don't wanna give away my whole show, but, um I mean, there's obvious ones like, I was married to a narcissist for 17 years and, partly I'm kind of embarrassed about that, to be honest. It's like, how does a strong, capable, independent, empathetic woman, allow herself to be in such a dysfunctional relationship for so long? And, I was quite embarrassed how I really, like, lost myself over all that time, and it really wasn't until I started, understanding more what being in an emotionally abusive relationship entailed and all of the hallmarks of that, that I was able to then find some humor and some light around it. And I think that was probably, I mean, it was one of my most important relationships in my life. We have a child together, and, that was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. And infusing some comedy in that relationship loosened the grip for me. And it allowed me to, instead of being frustrated by some of the things, that he would say or do, I was like, "Oh, well, it's hilarious that I thought it was gonna go." Well, I'll give you an example. We had a frustrating marriage for a long time, and I remember, and I'm always been a journal writer, so I have hundreds of journals from my past. I was writing in my journal about how frustrating this divorce process was, and then I wrote something like, "You know what? I really feel like this is gonna go well, though. I feel like in the end, we're gonna still be friends, and this will be smooth." And then I looked at what I wrote, and I'm like, "Oh my god. I think I have a serious problem with optimism.
It's like,
I think I have
"Hello?"
yeah, I think I have optimistic personality disorder." And that
That's where it
was
came from, the show
that
name.
the fact that I thought my marriage, like, when we were in love and we didn't get along, but in divorce, we were gonna be friends and this would be smooth and easy, like, that's
'Cause it
that's
never,
insane.
ever,
That's
ever
insane.
happens.
Right.
When has it ever happened? Never.
No, it doesn't. So, that was, and then I looked back on my life and I'm like, "Oh, I've always had optimistic personality disorder." But the twist is that, I think being an optimist is a good thing, but you need to be a little rooted in reality, and, I have learned better to do that.
You have learned that, yes.
Yes, yes.
As women, we're often told to move on, not rewrite. Can you think of a reason why women struggle to give themselves this permission to reset or retell their story in their own way, their own narrative?
Well, that's a great question. I think women are, we're hard on ourselves, and there's so many iterations. I don't like to generalize and say, like, all women are like this or all women are like that. But I do think, for me personally, have an aversion to quitting, right? Like, I don't want to quit something, but I'm kind of a good girl, like, I want to hang in there. I want everybody to be taken care of. I want to keep the peace. And so I might be more inclined to stick with something and not really address all the ways that it's unhealthy to stick with that. And I think certainly mothers, we definitely do this. We put everybody for ourselves. And so I think there were a whole host of things that were going on. And it wasn't until I really was looking at my life story. Now, at that point, I had already been divorced. So I got divorced in 2017. My life-changing show was written in 2019, but it was that process of going back through my journals and reminding myself, like, who I really am.
And you found yourself in that, huh?
And I found myself, it was sort of like, you know, it was the story became the journey back to who I've always been. And who I've always been was a performer and an entertainer, and I lost that. And so getting back to that, I think was important for me, and I like to be able to help women and men too. I think, men get short shifted. I'm the mother of a son. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of resources for women to do these creative things and get in touch with themselves, and men kinda get a little shortchanged. But, like, my boyfriend is a military vet, and
Mm.
I see a lot of value in being able to take the process that I went through and take people who have been through traumas to be able to find some humor in those experiences to give them a little bit of a looser grip on what drives them and what,
Yeah.
has been frustrating.
Yeah, I think the world will be a much better place if we can actually come to terms with a lot of the stuff. Because I mean, what is it? 9 out of 10 people have had a traumatic experience. The amount of
About
people
right?
who have been through something
I
is
don't know who that
insane.
last one is. Who's the last one?
Yeah,
Who's that
10
guy?
out of 10? It's 10 out of 10. That one's lying.
Totally.
So I
Yeah,
think having a way to release that, I mean, whether it's going to a show or whether it's trying to find a way to actually come to terms with your own, gosh, I
yeah,
can only just imagine. And also in business as well. I mean, we're all under a lot of stress. I mean, we're all business owners too. Being able to come to terms with some of that and finding the release and laugh at some of the shit that happens there too. I mean, we're all human, right? All of us.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, laugh you gotta learn to laugh. I always say laughter lightens the load you hold, you know? We're all holding so much. If you can lighten it up, lighten your grip on it, lighten the weight of it, then you really can hold more. And that's just always been my motto.
And if there's someone listening today who feels stuck in their story or stuck in a narrative that they didn't choose themselves, what is one tiny shift or one thing that you would recommend that they could try today to get past that?
Yeah, one of the exercises I do in the work show experience program is I have you do an inventory of your beliefs. And many beliefs I call hand-me-down beliefs. Like you can identify them. They're things like, money doesn't grow on trees, or I'm too young, or I'm too old, or right, like there's just, I don't look the part. There's just many beliefs that we have about many different things in our lives. And when you can write them down and just kind of look at them, you get a chance to see, does this belief serve the future that I want for myself, or did I get handed this even as a young person and then now it's time to hand it back, like the old sweater that you got from your cousin that never really fit you, that was a hand me down sweater, so hand it back. And
Goodbye.
yeah, the point is that those beliefs, just because you've had them for a long time, doesn't make them any more real than the belief that you instill in this moment, brand new. Like, why is the old one any more true than the new one you would create now? And there's no evidence for any one of, the old one being more of the truth or the truth at all. So I think that gives people a lot of freedom to be able to really look at the beliefs and choose them newly, choose the ones that you have that support you and hand back the ones that don't support you for where you want to go.
It's very good advice and helps people to reframe it a bit, right? After everything you've rewritten in your own life, through your story, through your journey, through your comedy, through your businesses, all the different things that you've done, what's one belief that you refuse to carry forward into the next chapter of your life?
I don't it's the thing that is coming to me now is that it has to be hard, like, you have to pay your dues. I feel like I've paid my dues, in my sales business, as a keynote speaker. There's comedians. I mean, I do stand-up comedy, and I tour with a group called Moms Unhinged, which is a lot of fun, um, and I have my one-woman show, but I feel like I've talked to other actors who have their own shows, and they're like, "Well, you gotta pay your dues, you gotta do this, that, and the other thing," and I'm like, "Or I can do it a whole different way," and, I mean, I'm not opposed to doing the hard work, but I don't have 20 years to be, like, learn the theater world, like, crash course, let's go, it's game on, and, I think that the new belief that I am really working to embrace is this can be smooth and easy. I can attract the right sponsors who wanna get in front of the audiences of primarily women, middle-aged women, and have a live endorsement from somebody who, has built a relationship with all the people sitting and watching the show, and I feel like, there's a really good story to tell, and the right sponsors are gonna find their way to me and be thrilled with a partnership where I can promote them and the show can do some good, and, yeah, and I think that that will make it easier for me to do the work that I'm supposed to do in this world.
And you're still doing the work because just being here, just being out there, just doing the show, you're already impacting people's lives.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, thank you so, so much. where can people find you?
Sure. Go to opdshow.com. So it stands for optimistic personality disorder. You could also type the whole thing in, optimisticpersonalitydisorder.com, and you'll learn more about the show. There's always a let's talk button. You can send me a message there. You can book time on my calendar. If anything that I've said sparked you, if you have a theater or you're interested in sponsoring a great show or partnering with me in some way or seeing the show, you can buy tickets there. It's the hub of all things, opdshow.com. And I'm just Merit Kahn on LinkedIn, and you'll find me there too. I also have Merit Kahn at Instagram and Facebook, so it's all Merit Kahn, Kahn.
Awesome. Well, I thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Gina. Agree.
Well, that was today's Morning Cup of Brand Spark with the brilliant, hilarious, and deeply human Merit Kahn. A reminder that you may not be able to change the events of your past, but you sure absolutely can change the story that they tell about you. When you rewrite the narrative, you rewrite the future. If this episode made you smile, breathe, or rethink your own plot twist, share it with someone who needs a reminder that their story is still editable. Until next time, keep your coffee warm, your mirror close, and remember, sometimes the only way through it is to laugh at it and let yourself.
In the mirror light I see what's true. The spark in me, the spark in you. One cup, one truth, one little fire. Morning voices climbing higher. So grab your cup, let's spark it up.